Hello again. Here we are at training number 3, strategy. Welcome, welcome. Here we go. So, without further ado, we're just going to recap 1 and 2 really quickly, and we're going to talk about preparing as well as strategy for outbound calls. We're going to talk about outbound as well as inbound, but of course we're going to be focusing first on the outbound because that's what we're doing first. And your next assignment. So, mindset, mindset, mindset. I'm going to pound this into your head now. Anyway, really, at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, everything begins and ends with your mindset. Whatever your mindset is like is going to be what follows after that. And so we all know that. We went through the reticular activating system and your be, do, have, and of course, right? And your have equals your be times your do, and being is where it all begins, which starts with your identity iceberg. And then we followed up with, of course, your formula for change. We're always going to be weighing. I mean, it's different. It's different. And I think of everything, take everything that I taught you in that first one, and with the mindset is to just understand as we get going, the resistance is going to be, it's going to be strong at times. Sometimes it's going to be, my guess is that it'll probably be fun and easy and different at first, and soon resistance is going to rear its ugly head. And then what's going to happen, right? You're going to have to go back and forth between your dissatisfaction and your vision and play with those puppies until you can get it back in check so you can keep moving on, because you need to what? Take that first step, right? Or take the next step. We took the communication, the response you get, and as well as understanding your modalities, your disc and your back modalities, right? Good. So now we're getting ready and we're going to prepare for what we're really going to be doing. So when I tell you we're getting set and we're getting ready to start beginning to put into place what we're going to be using, so we start making phone calls. We're starting with the outbound first, as you all know. First, what is going through your mind right now? What is your mind telling you right now? Jot it down. Jot it down. Whatever it's telling you is fine. Just be aware of what it's telling you. Good. So, in general, when we're going to prepare, hello, your mindset, because I can't talk enough about mindset. Even despite just, again, having an open mind, maybe instead of including mindset is really having an open mind and being open to things being new and different this time. You got nothing to lose. Then we also talk about creating the plan and the strategies that we're going to use. And the key to everything, and this is my big sales tip, if you will, but again, it's not really, I don't ever think of it as sales. I think of it more as enrollment and in continuing development of a relationship and providing value and service. Seriously, that's what we're doing. The next step. So when I work with sales teams, and I work with a lot of people when it comes to their sales, they tend to think of, okay, they have a prospect in front of them, a lead in front of them, which person on the other end for you is that prospect, a lead, and the result, getting them to buy something and handing you, giving you more money. But stuff happens along the path. So when I talk about the next step, so let's say you're talking to them on the phone, then your next step, there's going to always be a next step. Always. We'll get to that later. There's going to be a next step and a next step and a next step and a next step, which is going to lead to them, buying more with you and spending more money with you and investing in you. It's investing in the company, right? I mean, that's what you need to think about it. I know that when it comes, I know I'm digressing here, but it is important at this point because now we are beginning to think about strategy as well as preparation. So I know that there's a lot of resonance from a lot of you who are like, some of you are excited and can't wait, and that's awesome and wonderful, but for those who are a little bit hesitant and reticent about doing this, it's because you're not a salesperson. Well, we don't want to be salespeople. Again, you do want to serve I know you want to serve the clients and the customers. I know you want to be a value to the customers. And I know many of you are really enjoying building relationships. So that's all this is. This is a furthering and deepening. And you're feeling that you're not giving them something they don't want. You're not, and we think sometimes of that typical used car salesman when they're shoving down things, people that they don't need. No, we're not talking about that at all. Not that at all. And you'll see, but it's going to take time as we get through this. So it's always about that next step. There's always going to be a next step. And that's some of the things we're going to talk about today. And your objectives. What is your objectives? Which we're going to help you define in the not too distant future. And then targets for yourself. You're going to have, there's going to be targets. Everyone's going to probably get their own, the way I envision this. We're still sorting it out, but the way I envision this right now is that everyone's going to have, you're going to have a baseline. You're going to know what your baseline is. And then we're going to set what we would like to see, but I want you to set your own targets. And I'm hoping that your target's going to be more than even the objective, because this is about you. Remember, this is about your growth, your learning, your expansion. It's about you. And then always do a recap after the call. I mean, so particularly in the outbound, this is going to be easier, right? Because we're going to be doing this during slow times. When we get to the inbound calls and we're adding it on and we're in the fury, whatever, we'll come up with something at that point, but we're not there yet. So let's just focus on the outbound calls, which are going to pretty much occur when things are slower, right? Recap. And then a review. And first and foremost, last and utmost, be gentle with yourself this process, because you're learning and you're doing something. I want you to just focus on the fact that you're willing to do something new and different and give it your all. So congratulations. And celebrate your wins, wherever it is, whatever, it doesn't matter, big and small. Celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. And then don't come down on yourself. Don't think you didn't do this. Don't think it's impossible. Don't write those words, which when you go into Google search, you're not going to come up. Just appreciate what you've learned. So when it goes great, yay. If it doesn't go great, just appreciate what you've learned from that experience. That's it. Because that's just feedback and data. That's all that is. So post-call. And this is for the outbound calls, right? It's like we're going to come up with a list. However, we're going to get the names for you to call. Those are little details we're still sorting out. But you're going to have a list of people. You should always have a list of who you're going to call that day. I do that. I've done that for forever. I've always had a list of who needs to be called that day, or who needs to be called that day, and who do I want to call that day. And you have the list. And you have the list. And with that list, you have their phone number, any notes that you may have, and you go from there. And then you do a complete recap of the call, which we talked about before. It's in the notes, so you'll put that in the notes in the computer. So it's going to keep updating and updating and updating. So everybody's going to gain from that. Rate yourself. How'd the call go? What do you feel how the call went? You know, scale of 1 to 5. Whereas 1 being like, that sucked, sorry, but that did not go well, from being 5 being woohoo, over the moon, and somewhere in between. I mean, I didn't want to do 1 to 10. I just 1 to 5. You know, 1 being yuck, 5 being awesome, and 3 being okay. And what was the net result of the call? What was the net result of what happened when you were, and what's the next step? What went well, because something always goes well, and then possibly what could have been better. So even if it's a 5 call, think about, is there anything you could have done better? Because this is about personal, this is you personally doing better, you growing yourself, and you challenging yourself to be a better you. That's it. And what are the future opportunities you can have with this customer, as well as what you foresee as the challenges with this customer. And then what is the next step? Always the next step. And when will you call them back again? Ideally, this would have been verbalized to the person on the phone. Say, thank you, customer XYZ. I enjoyed our conversation. I will be your order has been placed, blah, blah, blah. And I'll follow up with you next week, next month, next quarter to see how it all went, right? And then really, what's the next step for you with them? Okay. Again, you're going to get PDFs of these so you can go back and refer to these, because those things might want to be printed out so you have them with you if you want. And these videos are going to be, and these trainings are going to be available as well. So if you want to go back and watch them as we're going forward, you can do so as well. Okay. So in preparing, number one, who to call, make that physical list. Research the history of the person that you're calling, of the customer you're calling. What is the buying history? What is, just get to know them, because this way when you talk, you just become, right? Knowledge is power. That's all it is knowledge is power. So, research their history. Determine a reason why to call. It's the beginning of the year. So within the first quarter of the year, it's very simple. You just want to check in. I mean, that is the number one reason. You're just checking in, seeing how they're doing. If it's somebody who's in an unmanned territory or something like that, who doesn't have somebody Omega calling on them, then you just, hey, you know what? We realized that, we don't have somebody physically on the ground to come see you, and we just wanted to let you know we're here for you, and just gather information. Your first phone call to all these people is, you don't want to even talk about selling something. It's just about establishing the relationship. And what are you going to say when you call, when you're establishing the relationship? And again, what is going to be the next step? Are you going to send them a catalog? Are you going to send them, whatever? Are you going to send them a catalog? Are you going to follow up on an order? Or I don't know, whatever it is. So that's the reasons. And you know what? You all know the reasons way better than I do. And then when to call. When to call. We have the call. Of course, you're not going to call on a Monday, particularly during like 10 to 3, during the hot times and everything else. But the interesting thing is, and I can tell you this from my own experience, the later in the week and the later in the day that you make those calls, the more people are around and they're open to talking. So that's just my little tip. And then do the post recap, the next step, and the follow up and follow through. Those are keys to everybody's success. So now it's time to talk strategy. And that's on you, because and you can figure this out. What we are going to do is next week, I know Thursdays tend to be, I come on Thursdays in the afternoon primarily because everybody's there who's going to be there. And so this way nobody misses out. So it's just easier for me to go and say and do it over a longer term on that day. And this way get everybody all at once. So your assignment on your own is, number one, of course, be open. Come up with 5 reasons why it might make sense to make calls. I want everyone to come up with their own 5 reasons. It's my dog. Don't mind them. I have 5 here, right? And then 5 reasons to make the call, and then what 5 reasons will be good to further the conversation. And then create yes/no experiences. Responses. So say the reason to call is you just want to check in, and I mean, aside from the people who are no longer business and things like that, and of course we're not going to be calling people for whatever reason is not a good Omega customer for whatever reason. But the people you are called, I mean, when you come up with a reason to call them, they're going to respond a yes or a no. They're going to be open. Basically, they're going to be open or not open. So come up with, if they're open for the reason that you call, what are you going to do? If they're unopen to the reason that you call, what are you going to do? So that it's primarily yes, no, and it's really being if they're open and unopened. And then, of course, the next step and the timeline for the next step. That means when you're going to call them back and say, okay, great, based on our conversations today, I'm going to do this, 1, 2, 3 things, and I will follow up with you 2 weeks from today, or next 1 week from today, 2 weeks today, to make sure you got it and everything else, and blah, blah, blah. And then create your own definitions for what would you call a 1 to 5 rating of the success of the call, right? This is all about you. And each one of you are individual and different, so you're going to all have your own baselines of that. And that's where this has to be, really, this is about you. And have fun. Have fun. That's it. You get someone who's obnoxious on the phone, say, oh, that someone's obnoxious. That means I'm closer to get someone who's not obnoxious. If you get someone who's awesome on the phone, like, woohoo, lucky me. That's going to booster me when I get someone who might be obnoxious. And maybe no one is. Maybe it's going to just be all wonderful and lollipops and rainbows, and maybe it's not. But just have fun and just take it in the vein of learning, 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 learning. And so going back to the iceberg, you have to always keep the who you want to be iceberg near you, because that's going to help buoy you. That's going to be, hopefully, that's going to be a part of your Cinderella castle that's going to keep you going, because it's not all going to be lollipops and rainbows, particularly as we keep going on. And there are going to be times it's going to be easy and simple and fun and wonderful and response and it'll be yay, yay, yay. And there's going to be times it's going to be frustrating and challenging and annoying and all like that too. So let's understand that that's going to be, what does that go back to? That goes back to your resistance. The resistance is going to come up. And then you got to play with your vision and your dissatisfaction. That's it. The icebergs are going to serve you well through life, but certainly serve you well through this. And again, it's who you want to be and why you want to be them, what are the behaviors you need to do, which is all, use this on, you can even use this when you're recapping your calls, right? It's like, so why did it go well? What were the behaviors? What were the skills you used or didn't use? What were the beliefs you had about the call? Did you call this person like, oh God, this person is not a nice person, whatever it is, with the beliefs, and then the values, as well as, of course, then the environment. So to recap, to wrap up, we did, and again, you're going to have all this, so you're going to be able to see this, because I don't expect you to memorize it. Of course not. This is so silly. But anyway, so this is just what we're going to be doing. This is getting you ready and prepared. And of course, you're going to have the PDF version of this particular, well, you can have them all, but you can have the PDF version of this presentation, so you can have those slides. You can actually print out those slides. And what I'll do is I'll probably just put them in a Word document, PDF, so that you can have them there too, as you're thinking about this. So we did the recap of 1 and 2, we prepared, and we were talking about outbound strategy. Make sure you didn't talk about one inbound strategy, and that's fine, because we're not focused on that right now. Although it is, a lot of it is the same, as you can imagine. It's just a different slant on what you do, and a different purpose and a different objective and all like that. Then gave you the assignment, and then your top learnings. That's it. Let me know. Thank you, everyone. Speak to you soon. I'm getting better at this. You think I'd be really good at this since I do this all the time, but I'm getting better at this. Bye-bye.